Dendrobiums are orchids that can be grown from little plantlets that form often on the old flowered canes. Here I have two plantlets that are from a plant called Dendrobium and Catasetum. It's a wonderful old bright yellow flowered hybrid from the end of the 19th century. These two plantlets are perfect for removal and potting on. Here you can see that they have vigorous root systems about 1/2 inch to 1 inch long with active green root tips. These plantlets taken now will very rapidly establish themselves and grow on to flowering plants. We've removed the cane, the section with a little bit of cane attached. You have two options when you pot these things. This can be actually potted sideways. You lay it on the potting mix and pin it down, and eventually the roots will grow down. The new growths will turn upright and follow the sun. That's a little awkward in this case because there are two of them. What we're going to do is pot this vertically. One will be a little low, the other one will be just at the potting mix surface, and they'll very rapidly root into the potting mix and establish themselves. We're going to pot this in a clay pot in sphagnum moss. Dendrobiums grow very well in sphagnum moss that drains rapidly, and clay pots are great. Always use small pots. This sphagnum moss has been pre-moistened. You always want to start with moss that it has been wet before you use it. Otherwise it's very difficult to get it wet. The first thing you do is you pack the bottom of the pot with some moss, relatively tight. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a layer in that just about brings the second plantlet up to the surface of the pot. So I'm at that point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap sphagnum moss around the cane until I get a ball that's a little bigger than the pot. You want this to be potted relatively tight. If you don't, you won't be able to get the moss wet should it dry out. So I now have a ball slightly bigger around than the pot diameter. I set that ball in the pot and I pack it down and stabilize the little plant. This keiki will it's tight in that pot, this keiki will very rapidly root in. Now, do not forget to label your plant divisions. This isn't finished until we've made a label. Use pencils, grease pens, and Sharpies. Sharpies are destroyed, the color is destroyed by sunlight, so you make a label that looks just great today, and depending on where in the country you live, you may not be able to read that label in 3 months. So this is Dendrobium, Gatton, G-A-T-T-O-N, Sunray, S-U-N-R-A-Y, and it has an FCC, First Class Certificate, from the Royal Horticultural Society. All of that is part of the name of the plant. Once I've made that label, I also should put the date that we pot it. This is, the reason for doing that is so that you know how long it's been in that pot and when it's time to repot it. Once I've made the label, I insert that in the pot. This is now ready to go out on the growing bench.